Well, I managed to do it. I finished recording episode 11 of the Nothing Human podcast again, and I managed to turn a 30-minute episode into a 60-minute episode. Part of that was because I had additional material. I was still working through some of those concepts, and you can see I had to tweak a couple of things. You can see that from the overlap image if you're observant. And there's at least one change. But I also needed to expand the episode to some extent because I wanted to explain what I was talking about a little more practically and also in a little bit more depth. And it brings something to mind that I think is a somewhat important issue, which is that it seems like a lot of academic works, when they are written again for the popular level, end up becoming shorter when they're written for the popular level. And that's never really made a whole lot of sense to me. One of the things I don't like about academic writing, and you're probably similar to me in this, is that it uses so much jargon. But I understand the purposes of jargon because you can talk about extremely complex and, in many times, storied and historied ideas and even arguments and conversations in a very short amount of time. So, for instance, if I were to talk about the Hegelian dialectic, you may not understand what I'm talking about. But if you did understand what I was talking about, I would have to explain a whole lot less in having a conversation about that idea. And so there is a sense in which jargon is helpful, but jargon oftentimes becomes a sort of gatekeeping that allows people to feel elite. And it's kind of silly, like laughing at a person trying to speak your language that doesn't necessarily know all the vocab very well. The fact is that that doesn't make them stupid just because they haven't learned that language. I remember when I was first learning Pokemon, the card game, so that I could play it with my kids, they were explaining things to me all over the place that had jargon and special language and insider language that I simply just didn't know. It wasn't because I was stupid, I just wasn't educated about it. Once I became educated about it, we could sit there and have a really complex conversation, and I understood the gameplay a little bit. I mean, I still don't understand it very well, but I can play it. I can play the game. And that's all I wanted to do. And for a lot of people, they may not be terribly educated in all the academic jargon, but they're still interested in the ideas, and that doesn't make them stupid. I would say that people are a lot smarter on average than most academics want to believe, and I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions on why that is. But it does seem like an academic book, if it were truly being written for the popular level in a way that respected the dignity of people's average intelligence, would be longer, that the popular level book should be longer because it's expanding and defining things that otherwise it could use jargon to kind of cut through more efficiently. And so the fact that it's not usually longer when an academic writes a popular level book indicates that most academics don't really understand what most average people are able to comprehend if only they've been given a chance to understand it on terms that actually make sense to everybody. And that's part of what I've been trying to do in the Nothing Human podcast is take ideas that may have some degree of complexity, or even just the complexity of life and the complexity of all the decisions that go into it and our personalities and self-awareness and all these things, and trying to give you language and concepts and ideas and analogies and practical stories and things like this that make it a little bit more navigable and accessible. And I hope that I have done that in episode 11, but I may not have. So if you can check it out, listen to it, get back to me, and tell me how it can be improved, and comment if you have any questions or anything like that. I would love to know what you guys think about this weird little episode on the overlap of the powers. All right. Well, I will talk to you later.